Friends, it is Thursday, April 24, 2025. I want to read to you three famous verses from Matthew 20. These are good verses to learn them by heart. Jesus is describing the way in the secular culture people like to get precedence over each other. They like to be higher in the hierarchy. They look down at some people, look down at others. He says, it can't be this way among you. You can't be a glory seeker. But whoever wishes to be great among you must be your servant. Whoever wishes to be first among you must become your doulos, your slave. Just as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, to give his life away as a ransom for many. These words are shocking in any age, particularly in the first century. The first century, the ancient societies were so hierarchical. They were so much a ladder. And everything was dictated by hierarchy. At the top was the emperor, who was considered semi-divine. There were places you could worship him, temples you were supposed to give votive offerings dedicated to him. The Roman Republic was ruled by the emperor along with 600 senators. And then below them were equestrians, people who had enough wealth to own stables. And below them were decurions, who were bureaucrats, worked for the government, or who were priests. And those were the four classes of people who were racing to move upward, hoping to achieve more glory at a higher rung in the ladder. And then below them, there was the rest, the 98%, who were considered people of mediocrity, or even the hoi polloi, the rabble. Tacitus calls them the rabble. And that consisted of people who were ordinary citizens, had rights and some liberties, and then below them freedmen who had a few rights but no real liberties. They were former slaves. Then below them conquered peoples in the empire, and among that group the most despised were the Jews, generally, and they were often scapegoated. And then below that you had slaves, like below, almost completely off the scale, and servants who were barely considered human. When Jesus came from heaven to earth, where did he belong in the scale? Well, he belonged well above the so-called divine emperor, because it was through Jesus all things came to be. All things were created through him, by him, and for him. Nothing came to be without him, we hear. Jesus was the smartest man who ever lived. A few words that he spoke to some Galilean peasants are now considered some of the richest words ever spoken in the whole history of scholarship. People get PhDs to study the depth of his words. He was so powerful that he could rekindle the amino acids and make the synapses fire in a corpse. He could make the heart beat again so the corpse would revive. He could call the wind and the waves. He knew enough about physics and chemistry to be able to control the weather. And yet, when he came from heaven to earth, he came as a Jew, way down to the bottom of the scale, and he decided to become a servant or a slave, to serve others, to give his life away. And so he was really kind of not even on the scale of honor or of glory. He occupied the bottom rung. I wonder, when you look around at your life and the lives of people you know, where they are in the social hierarchy and whether that's the way they're measuring their lives. Let's take a moment and pray. Lord, the depth of your humility is astounding. You upset the hierarchy. Help us to see past social standing to the real true values of your kingdom. We ask this in your Son's great name. Amen.